Call us vain, but looks and appearances do play a big part in how we perceive value. We as human beings have a tendency to gravitate towards things that satisfies our need for visual stimulation. This can be said of buildings and architecture, cars, and even people. Before anything, the first thing that takes hold of our attention is what we see through our eyes, and this is truly a treat in visual form. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Scott K. I don't know about you, but I am a very visual person. I believe I appreciate the world firstly through my eyes. Sometimes I'm willing to sacrifice a bit of function if it has beautiful form, like a sports car with no useful storage space, or my small form factor computer, or a beautiful girl with a terrible personality, maybe. But sometimes, what you get in visuals outweighs some of the shortcomings in other areas. The case of the Z75. It's an overall solid package with decent sound and comfortable feel, but where it truly shines is what it does for your eyes. Let's get started. So the Z75 is a 75% gasket mounted custom mechanical keyboard from Wind Studio. If you recall, Wind Studio is a manufacturer of the popular Wind X series of keyboards. Yes, that Wind X. Overall, nice packaging, and when I open up the box, I'm greeted by its components. First are the plates. This one is the palm plate. Then you got the aluminum plate. Then the hot swap PCB. And finally, the pack of foam. You also got this little box of screws and gaskets and stuff like that. But the highlight of this is actually this, right? The beautiful case. So the thing about the Z75 is that it's not an overly embellished keyboard. It doesn't have fancy badging and shiny designs and lights all over the place. Instead, it has simple, minimal beauty. The edges are curved top and bottom, and in between you have the sliver of the case underneath to kind of break up the lines. The sweeping center line splits the top and bottom, and I like the fact that they didn't go symmetrical with this. In my opinion, it creates a more dynamic impression this way. The front and the back of the Z75 features these big polished fronts. At first, I thought it was like a plastic trim, maybe like a screen or something, but actually these are PVD stainless steel weights. So they actually act as weights, but in a very unconventional way. You can also see the little Wind logo here as well in the corner. The case has a fairly large forehead and chin, and at first I thought, why is the forehead so much bigger? Then I realized that typing angle, the perspective makes it so that the keyboard actually looks a little bit more symmetrical this way. So great design choices here. You get a small Z logo here, and this is the only area where it has like some RGB lighting altogether. Underneath it all, you got extra PVD stainless steel weights in the Z logo once again. It's not a huge weight, but does its job in a very minimal way. I absolutely fell in love with this the moment I've seen it. And then I thought, where did I see this design before though? Then I figured out that the Z75 is actually based on a design of Z4, the NAS storage device made by Z-Space. Absolutely gorgeous device, this thing. It's like an external storage device connected to your network. Do they sell this thing in the US? If you know where I could get one here, let me know in the comments below. So now enough drooling over the case. Let's go into the components, shall we? So the plate is pretty simple. It has like no flex cuts or anything special like that. But the tabs are similar to what we have seen before in some of the Wind X series of keyboards in the past. The extra cuts here, they are designed to allow for a little bit more flex as well. The PCB is also pretty standard as well. It's a solid south-facing PCB finished in black, so no perky RGB or anything like that. Similar to the plate, the PCB also lacks any flex cuts whatsoever. Honestly, some keyboards benefit from flex cuts, but others it's kind of overkill. The Z75 though, maybe it could have used it. We'll cover that portion later. The PCB I have is a wired one, but you could also get this in wireless as well, if that's what you're looking for. Flip the thing over, you got the familiar hot swap sockets. This time it's by Gateron. Yes, this thing has a lot of foam. First is the case foam as usual. Then you got the under PCB foam. Then the plate foam. Then the familiar IXP sheet. But what is this? Not sure what this is supposed to do honestly, but it's like another layer of PE foam that's cut out like the plate. I've even seen something like this before being used above the plate between it and the switch, so I don't know, it's kind of odd and I'm not going to use it for my build. So let's get into the build process, shall we? But before we do that, I wanted to try something new today. So this isn't like a sponsor video or anything like that, but I have been looking for ways to branch out my content, maybe even just beyond keyboards, right? So I figured, why not here? So I guess this video is sponsored by me. So I got this new chair. It's the Razer Enki Pro, and I wanted to do like a quick spotlight on it. So let me know what you think about me covering like other relatable products, right? In this case, on this channel as well. So let's start. So for a while, I was using a standard office chair and I decided to try something different. I wanted to see what the whole gaming chair hype was all about. I mean, I've seen all the other content creators with one, so I got this Enki Pro by Razer. The first thing I noticed was how massive and heavy this chair actually was. Definitely feels like a premium product with its like leatherette finish and Alcantara. Yes, this chair actually has the same Alcantara, the real Alcantara, fabric found in race cars. Speaking of which, I also like the fact that the chair actually resembles the seat in my own car like this. Besides the look of it, the Enki Pro has a lot of adjustments, like the height, the rocking, as well as the reclining. What was surprising was how far back this thing goes. You could literally sleep on this chair. The cushioning is definitely different than what I'm used to, in that it's definitely on the firmer side. It emphasizes support over coziness, but that's typically what you want for that long run, right? I sat on this thing for like hours on Diablo 4 and also Adobe Premiere, and I was pretty comfortable. The lumbar wasn't adjustable, but it's built in and it's pretty supportive. For reference, I'm about 142 pounds and 6 feet tall, and I fit into this chair pretty well. The armrest can be adjusted 8 different ways, which can help you find that optimal support for your elbows. Finally, it's got this pillow that's magnetic, so you just kind of like throw it on here like this and it sticks. You could also adjust it up and down. It'll take some time for me to figure out if this is any better than a standard office chair, but hey, at least I can pretend that I'm a race car driver while sitting here on my keyboard. So the build process for the Z75 is unique. It's not a tray or two-piece design. Rather, it's like a sandwich. You got the main body of the case, flanked top and bottom. Where does this design come from? Well, the Wind X obviously. So you start by removing the lower trim piece like this. Then you can take the upper part of the case to expose the main case body. The first thing I noticed is how hefty the case really was. Look at this thing. It's a solid aluminum chassis milled out in this stepped design. With everything removed, you can actually see what's going on in the bottom. So to start, you got the battery covers here. You actually got 2 of them if you decide to go with the wireless option. Then everything kind of plugs into the center daughter board like this. You can also see how the lower Z design weight actually mounts to the case as well. So it's very interesting how they did it. It's a little different from what you typically see, but hey. The Z75 uses a traditional pour-on gasket, so no silicone gasket or anything like that here. But I feel like if they did go with the silicone gasket, the sound would be a little bit more vibrant, so hey, something to consider, Wind Studio. So for the first build, I'm going to do a no foam build. Aluminum plate, no foam, anywhere to show you its raw acoustics. For stabs, I decided to use a set of Aeboards Staebies. And for switches, I grabbed a set of Wuque Morandi linears. These are made by Haimu and they come factory pre-lubed. I have tried so many pre-lubed switches and I could tell you, these are probably one of the best, if not the best pre-lubed switch. I actually like this lubing better than the new Gateron lubing, which is also excellent. I was so surprised by these that I'm definitely going to be picking up more of these switches, more switches by Haimu in general going forward. Put everything together and this is what it looks like. For keycaps, I went with a unique set to highlight this unique board. These are the KBDFANS Neon. I'm specifically using the double shot ABS version. Yes, these actually come in triple shot also, but you know, I like these. These are actually slightly translucent, so it provides that serious look of the white on blacks, but with a little bit of depth, making it a little bit more grayish, I guess. I think it complements the minimal seriousness of this keyboard very well. After seeing so many squarish candy bar style keyboards, this Z75 is just so beautiful. It's like keyboard art. We know the keyboard looks amazing, but what about its sound? Let's check it out. Overall, the Z75 has a decent sound profile, even without any foam. It's not a bad sound at all. It's pretty typical sounding. I did find that it did exhibit a little bit of case resonance over the mods, and especially over the spacebar. Now, we did see that huge pack of foam, right? What if we decided to use it? So I built the second version now with all the foam included. This means the case foams as well as everything else above that. Also, I switched it up a little bit with the palm plate provided. So how does this sound now? Now it definitely has that marbly, thocky sound profile that many people love. I think the biggest improvement the foam adds is over the modifiers, and the spacebar especially. They sound absolutely thick. For me, between the two types of builds, I think the Z75 actually does sound better with the foam. If you're a purist, I would say just stick with the force bake mod and you'll be okay as well. But given the thin and shallow case design and the thick heavy case, the Z75 is not as vibrant in sound as it can be. The foam here helps to bring out more sound from this board, and if that is what you desire, so hey, overall, very creamy sounding keyboard, dare I say it. You can probably tell by looking at it, the Z75 is fairly shallow, right? This means that the keyboard won't be a trampoline. However, even with all the foam loaded in, the Z75 does have some give, which makes the keyboard nice and comfortable to type on. Remember what I said about the flex cuts? I feel like the Z75 could have benefited from some simple cuts to help with the flex at least a little bit over the alphas. There are some trade-offs with that, but I feel like with the foam, the flex cuts could have been good here for the Z75. The Z75 is not a cheap keyboard by any means. It sells for $365 for the wired and $385 for the Bluetooth, so almost a $400 keyboard. But I can also see why it costs that much. It's the design aspect of it. Just seeing what they did with the various aluminum pieces, the curvature, the milling and all, I can see that it was a more expensive process. In addition, the added PVD stainless steel weight adds to the premium aspect of the keyboard, and they do use it multiple places in the keyboard. So after all this, what is my final thought? It's very simple actually. Do you like how the Z75 looks? If you find the design of this keyboard beautiful, then get it. If you don't think the design is all that, then perhaps look at some other options. The feel is pretty nice, but it's not that flexy keyboard if that's what you're looking for. The sound is very creamy, but it does require the foams to achieve it. If you're looking for something like the Sisyphus kind of sound, the Z75 is definitely not that keyboard. However, even with all that said, I would absolutely consider dropping money on this for me and myself. Why? Because every time I see this thing sitting on my desk, it makes me happy. It resonates with the type of product design that I really like. So in that sense, it deserves a spot on my desk. Maybe not yours, but on mine. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll have more content for you in the future. Thanks.